The information provided by Trading Forex Price Action to you does not constitute personal financial advice. The information provided is of a general nature only and does not take into account your individual objectives, financial situation, or needs. It should not be used, relied upon, or treated as a substitute for specific professional advice.
Hey guys, this is a midweek analysis for June 22nd of 2022. All right, we'll start off with the euro dollar. Okay, this is the weekly chart. Let me run you by the current setup I'm looking at. So the last weekly short trade, that formula is right here. And the last weekly long trade, that formula is right here. And going strictly from this weekly strength, this long trade seems to be stronger than this short trade. So the weekly bias is long. Or in other words, price is likely to reach this pivot high before reaching this pivot low. However, as you guys know, the lower confirmations are actually confirming a weekly short bias. And therefore, although price came all the way down to these levels, giving me a nice tight stop loss, for the stop loss level is at this pivot low right here, I still have not taken this long entry. So let me go ahead and show you what I'll be looking for in terms of lower confirmations so I can take this long entry. Again, with the stop loss at this pivot low and its main target being right here. Okay, so let's go over to the 4-hour chart. Okay, so on this 4-hour chart, there was actually strong short confirmation that formed a couple weeks ago, and that's from this trend line, from this pivot to this pivot right here. You can see we got a breakout and immediate break back in. However, price came right back down to that pivot low to make strong short strength. Then we got this move all the way down to these levels, just shy of that main stop loss level right here. And at this point, I did not take a long entry, for the lower confirmations are still confirming a weekly short bias. Now that said, if you recall, I was mentioning that there was normal short strength confirmed at this level right here, from this trend line, from this pivot to this pivot right here, with a breakout and immediate break back in. And so the setup I've been looking at for the last week or so is to get a nice 4-hour and above rejection candle. For rejection candles often proceed to move right back up to the pivot high where that normal short strength was created in order to make strong long strength, and thus confirming a weekly long bias. Okay, and last week there was a candle right here that I mentioned on the forecast that was very close to being a rejection candle. However, in my opinion, this wick on the downside was not long enough to qualify for it to be a legitimate rejection candle, and thus I did not take a long entry. Okay, so at the current moment, I'm still waiting for price to make this nice rejection candle for a long entry with the stop loss at this pivot low and its main target way above. Now, moreover, there is another way that I can confirm that weekly long bias, and that's through normal trend line breakout confirmations. Now, initially on this trend line, from this pivot to this pivot right here, we did have a breakout and immediate break back in, creating normal short strength and price coming right back up to that pivot high to create strong long strength. However, in my opinion, this trend line itself is not up to par aesthetically. Now that's because the distance between the first and second pivot and the second and third pivot are too uneven, as you can see. So in my opinion, there was no strong long confirmation at this level right here. And then moreover, this week we had another trend line breakout, immediate break back in from this trend line, from this pivot to this pivot, right at this point right here. However, again, the distance between the first and second pivot and the second and third pivot are not even enough for it to be aesthetically legitimate. So even if price does reach this pivot high, in my opinion, this will not confirm strong long strength. So here's a trend line I am looking at. Okay, so that's from this pivot to this pivot right here. Now, if price can come down a little bit and then retest this trend line, making the pivots relatively equal, and then moreover get a breakout and immediate break back in, creating normal short strength, and price coming right back up to that pivot high to create strong long strength, well, this itself will confirm a weekly long bias. And I will be willing to take a long entry. However, only if I get a pullback after that to the 1.0433 30 levels right here for about 100 pip stop loss. For the stop loss levels at this pivot low right here. Okay, so price is really giving us some rangy price action at this point on this pair. So we'll just have to see if we could get these confirmations to confirm that weekly long bias. Okay, and I'll keep you guys updated on the weekly forecast. All right, so that's it for the midweek analysis. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week, guys. And thanks for watching. Okay, bye.